Hi, uh, welcome. My name is Eduardo Baldi. You're in my restaurant, Ebaldi restaurant in Beverly Hills. A lot of people don't see me because I'm cooking in the kitchen all the time. That's where my passion is. And when they do see me, they're surprised because they think I'm a lot older than I am. So it's a nice introductory to me and to this restaurant. I'm going to make a very simple dish today. It's a pasta, homemade pasta from scratch with a very simple tomato sauce, but with fresh tomatoes and fresh organic basil from the farmer's market. And it was a very special dish to me and still is because my dad came here every lunch to have it. And you know, a lot of people thought that there was a competition between my dad and I because of the two restaurants, but really we're great friends, best of friends, and he was my father, which I respected him so much for putting me into this business in the first place. He kind of paved the road for me. So we're going to do what he loved to eat today. Very simple, everyone can make it, and I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to my restaurant, and let's get cooking. Welcome, you're in my kitchen now, and we're going to start with the first step of this recipe, which is making the pasta. We have to make it first because it needs to rest in the refrigerator before you work it and make it thin, because otherwise you're going to have some problems with it. So, very simple ingredients: flour, water, eggs, a little bit of salt, and some olive oil. That's all you need. Okay, so now we're going to put all the ingredients together. We're going to start with the flour. Don't do like I do, make a big mess, but here we go. So the flour, we're going to put both of the flours together, and then we're going to add the wet ingredients, the eggs, and the salt, and then the olive oil. Olive oil, you need about 2 tablespoons. I go with but you need practice. Then once all the flour and the eggs are together, we'll add a little bit of the water, but don't add the water all at the same time because otherwise you might get a very mushy dough, and then you got to go back and add a little bit of flour to fix it, which when I'm in a hurry, sometimes I do. But so now it's knitting. It's going to take about 6 minutes approximately. As you can see, it needs a little bit of water, so I'm going to add a little bit of water. Once it gives out some shyness and it's together, then we're going to take out the dough, put it on the table, and finish kneading it by hand. Okay, so it's almost ready. I will give it another few seconds, and we're going to take it out. See, it's well compact already, but elastic still, so you can play with it a little bit and put it together. So we're going to finish it right here. Add a little bit of flour, and then you just have to knead it a little bit. And there you have it. You have a nice ball like this. We're just going to close it in plastic. There you go. And we're just going to let it sit in the fridge for a little bit until it gets a little bit hard so we can work it. Okay, so now it's time to extend the pasta. It's ready. It's been sitting and resting for a while. This is my dough sheeter. It's kind of fancy. It's not like a home one, but I use a small one as well. We're just going to use this one because it's faster and easier. We're going to cut a little bit of piece like this. Add a little bit more flour so it doesn't stick too much. And here we go. We're just going to make this really thin. You want to try to get it as thin as you can, because the thinner the pasta, the better it is. All right. So here we have it. See how thin it is? It's almost translucent. You can almost see through it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfectly square or anything like that, because we're going to make it perfect by cutting it right now. This is a little wheel cutter. And we're just going to make long strands like this. And again, they don't have to be perfect at all. And we're going to cut it right in the middle like this. And in Italy, this is what we call pappardelle. It's like a long, thin, rectangular pasta cooking. So very important is that when you make this pasta, you can even freeze it if you want. But if you're going to cook it right away, you have to cook it right away because otherwise it's going to get dried up and it's not going to taste as good. So now when we have all this pasta cut and ready to go, we're going to go make our sauce. That's the next step. I'm going to cover this with a little bit of film so it doesn't dry up. Add a little bit more flour if you want. And then we're going to dump this in a hot water that needs to be salted, as you will see. And because this pasta is fresh, it only takes barely a minute to cook. It'll be ready in just a minute. That's the beauty of this. You can't really overcook it or undercook it because just 1 minute and it's ready to go. It's not like the dry pasta that's al dente or you want it more cooked, less cooked. This is very easy to cook as well. So this is the pasta. We're going to put it here to set it aside for a second. The first thing we have to do is salt the water. A lot of people put olive oil, but you don't have to. The only thing you have to do is salt the water because that's very important for taste and also for when you cook the pasta. And I use a coarse salt, which is what you need to do. No fine salt. So now we're going to start with our sauce. So simple and fast. Extra virgin olive oil. Just enough to coat the pan, but not too much. We're going to cut some green onion. You can use green onion, you can use yellow, white onion, but I prefer these. They give a good taste. And just thin, not too thick. Okay? And I work kind of messy, but it's okay. You're supposed to. So we're going to add a little bit. We're going to add our tomatoes, our cherry tomatoes that I cut in half. And just make sure it's not too strong, the flame. Okay. Now a little bit of salt, just regular salt. A little bit more. Pepper, not too much. And then we let it cook. We gotta let the tomatoes soften up a little bit. Then you can add basil. I use this micro basil. Very flavorful. Italian basil. So as you see, it's breaking down. The tomatoes breaking down and it's creating kind of a sauce just by itself. And that's exactly what we want. Now to help that happen, what we're going to do is add a little bit of white wine. And then to give it a little bit of sweetness, brandy. Or cognac, but brandy is really good for this. You just have to be careful because you don't want to move it on the flame because the brandy is going to make a flame and we don't want to do that. It's almost ready. I mean, this is such a simple sauce. So while this is cooking, we're going to add a little bit of water from our pasta pan and just let it sizzle slow. Just slow. And now we're going to add our pasta, okay? I'm going to take the plastic out. And one at a time, if it didn't stick already, just throw it in here. A lot of flour. Now we're going to add a little bit of tomato sauce just to give it some color. And we are going to add a little bit of unsalted butter just to give it some creaminess. And as you can see, the pasta is almost ready. It really takes seconds to do. You just got to move it so it doesn't stick together. And then the pasta is almost ready. All right? That's all it took. Literally 1 minute, a minute and a half. Now you want to add a little bit of the broth because it kind of helps tie everything together and keep the sauce wet. And then the last thing you have to do is add a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Grate it. And you mix it. You don't want to have it too dry. Add a little bit of fresh basil to give it the final taste. And there you have it. Now we're going to plate it on my favorite dish here. Then the sauce on top. As you can see, you can still see the tomatoes, but also it has made a nice sauce. So nice. Then you want to add a little bit of decoration if you want. And there you have it. So delicious. What my dad always wanted. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed my recipe, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much.